So we're working out of the OpenStax Statistics Chapter 9 book, and we're going to work on a hypothesis test example with statistics test scores. As a reminder, you can always access the text for free. Just check the description in the video for the link. And the Excel workbook that you see here, you can get it for free at dividingconquermath.com. Just go to the OpenStax Statistics section. So for this example, we have that statistics students believe that the mean score on the first statistics test is 65, and a statistics instructor thinks that the mean score is higher than 65. So he samples 10 statistics students and obtains these scores. So he performs a hypothesis test using a 5% level of significance, and we're going to use a p-value for this particular test. So the first thing that we need to know is just what are the hypotheses. Now, I don't typically write this down in the Excel file. Maybe you want to, but I usually have like a piece of paper off on the side where I'm drawing everything. But it's very important to know what your hypotheses are, so I always note them in the Excel file when I make these videos. So my hypotheses are mu is going to equal 65, and my alternative is mu is greater than 65. Now, you might be feeling like, oh, why is it equal to 65? So the book uses equal to 65 because in the first sentence, it says the students believe that the score is 65. So is directly translates to an equal sign. But if you prefer, you could still write this as less than or equal to. I think it's a little less precise, but I mean, a lot of times when we set up hypothesis testing, we want to have these be opposites. So I don't think it's a huge difference to do it either way, but I'm just going to follow what the book does. Okay, so first things first, we need to organize our data. So if you have been playing along with the previous tabs, you should know that when we decide our mean, it's going to be 65. And then in this case, so I have my standard deviation. Okay, so I need to figure out, is my standard deviation, is this sigma or is this S? Because that's going to determine which distribution I use. And in this case, the information that I have nothing actually about my standard deviation, right? So the only information that I have to go off of are these 10 scores. So I'm going to have to compute my own standard deviation. And if I have to compute it off of this small group of scores, that tells me that my standard deviation is going to be S. So the first thing I'm going to have to do then is I'm just going to have to write out this data for myself. So I can go ahead and just transcribe this list. And in this case, I don't have to do anything slick because, you know, it's just a really small list. Of course, the next thing I want to do is just double check. So I'm double checking that I wrote everything down right. So let's see. 65, 65, 70, 67, 66, 63, 68, 72, 71. Yep, I feel good about that. And I can just double check, so I can highlight these and then I can look. Oh, I can actually see I am missing one. Hold on. 65, 65, 70, 67. Oh, there's double 63. That's where the problem is. Okay. Okay, so what I did, just to check that, just in case you missed that, so I selected these, and then Excel always does an automatic set of computations. So if you look down here, you get the average, the count, and the sum. So in this case, I just wanted to make sure that I had 10 data points, and when I did that quick just to highlight, I saw I only had 9, so I knew I had missed one. Okay. Anyways, so now I need to find the standard deviation. So I can just take the standard deviation of my data. My n in this case is 10. And then I need to calculate my average of this data, and that's going to be kind of the x that I'm working with, my x bar, I guess we could call it. Okay, so that's the given data, and then I always want to take a second to reset this for the distribution of means. So I have my mean, I am going to have my standard deviation that I'm using, and then since I'm using the t-distribution, I am going to need to know my test statistic. So the means are always going to be the same. Oops. The standard deviation is always going to be this standard deviation divided by the square root of n. And then my test statistic will be found by taking whatever my mean was from the data minus my established mean over my standard deviation. Okay, so we want to use p-values for this. And so from here, we need to draw a graph of this situation. So if you've been playing along at home here, I strongly recommend that you pause here and actually just try to finish this whole example and then hit play when you think you've got it. So like I said, we're using students T. If you find that you tend to mix up whether you're using a Z-score or a T-score, you can always label the axis down here. So since we're using students T, that's going to be centered at 0. And so then I plot my test statistic, which is going to be right over here. And so this is the area that I want to find. And notice that that is also the direction of my alternative hypothesis, so I can feel good about how I've set everything up. So from here, to figure out my p-value, so my p-value is just finding this area. So I can use the t.dist function. So I use my test statistic. My degrees of freedom will be my n minus 1, and then I always do true. Now, remember, these functions always go to the left, so if I want to get to the right, I have to take 1 minus that. And so I get a p-value of 0.0396, so on and so forth. Okay, and so what are we comparing this to? So in this case, I am comparing this to 0.05. So the alpha that I had in this case was 0.05. That is stated right here in the problem. So is p lower than 0.05? Yes, this is for sure lower than 5, so we can reject the null hypothesis, and we can conclude that yes, indeed, the test scores were greater than 65.